Okay, be honest. Is anyone like tuckered out from Thanksgiving? Yeah, just a little bit. Anyone a little tired? I don't go to the gym as much as I should, so helping mom bring the stuff up from the basement to get the Christmas decorations, I was like, whew. And she's like, come on, let's keep going. I was like, God, I'm tired. That's a lot of stuff that we're bringing up and down. And I feel like maybe already there's like this intensity that we're starting to feel and to get ready for Christmas. And there's maybe already some parties. I don't know about you, but as soon as the Thanksgiving meal was done, my uncle had Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas Is You. I'm like, can we take a breath, please? Can we digest just a moment? And I'm not saying that you're not allowed to listen to Christmas music. I'm not saying that you're not allowed to have your house decorated. I'm not saying anything like that. What I am saying is it's a lot. And it can be really tiring. And I don't even somebody else put my tree up, so it's really, really nice. So I would just say in this season, in these weeks to come, I invite you to experience the gift of Advent. The gift of Advent. Celebrate Christmas all you want. Have sorts of parties. Have as many different treats and sweets as you want, but be able to enter into this season that comes before the Christmas season. I bring your attention to the 4 candles that we have elevated among us, and as the weeks go by, they will be lit with a different theme each week. So this is the week of hope. The next week is the week of peace. The week after that, the pink ribbon or the pink candle you'll see is the week of joy. And then the last and final week is the week of love. Now, sometimes you get shortchanged, and it's only like one day if Christmas Eve falls on a Monday or a Sunday. But we've got a little bit, like the 4th week will still have some time. And I want to talk about, in this week that we're entering into, the week of hope. We hear in O Holy Night, that ancient song, the thrill of hope. A weary world rejoices. The thrill of hope. I think hope is something that we need to experience as this virtue that we can live out of. And I just want to talk a little bit about it today in the midst of all of the kind of the doom and the gloom that we hear in our readings. Just how those things go and actually support each other. Henry Nouwen, some of you have read works by Henry Nouwen. He's a 20th century spiritual writer. I would say he's a mystic. He talks about the difference between optimism and hope. Optimism, Nouwen says, is an understanding that good things will come. Whereas hope, he explains, is something that we understand deep within us, that someone will bring these good things. And that one, we believe in our Christian understanding, is Jesus. That Jesus is the one in whom we hope. Jesus is the one that gives our lives meaning. Jesus is the one that helps us to have perspective. And we can celebrate and have glad tidings all throughout December and even into January. But we can have them with a deeper understanding that we're not just preparing for December 24th and December 25th. We're preparing for Jesus to come again in majesty, to be able to save us, to be able to bring his peace, his joy, his love. That's what it is that we hope in. That's what it is that we live our lives for. And if you're like me, maybe the tension in your heart, because I've just kind of been wrestling with this, is that there are times where I don't want to let Jesus do it with me. I would rather just figure it out on my own. Or I don't want Jesus to come too close, because then we have to talk about some stuff that I don't want to talk about. I'd rather just be like, ring, ting, tingling, to, just like kind of maybe ignoring some of the stuff, right? That Jesus, as he's born into obscurity in Bethlehem, wants to be born into those places of poverty in our lives as well. Jesus doesn't want you to be self-sufficient. Jesus wants you to depend on him for everything. And Jesus is born into our icky humanity. It's not icky, but sometimes it has ickiness. Jesus is born into that because he wants to show us how to live. He wants us to be able to choose Jesus in every moment. When that relative says that thing that you don't like, when that bad situation happens, when that final exam is rearing its ugly head, whatever it is coming up, Jesus, can you be with me in this thing? Jesus, can you accompany me in this situation? And what do we do? How do we do that? We call that prayer. we sit with him, and we come and worship him at Mass, but then throughout our day, and through maybe like some special time that we reserve each and every day, we talk to him about what it is that we hope in, who it is that we hope in. And we talk to him more and more about what's going on in our lives because we know that he does not come to condemn us. He comes to save us. O ransom captive Israel. He's the ransom. He's the one that pays the price for us in our captivity, in our heaviness, in our despair. Jesus is the one that brings hope. And then you can really say Merry Christmas and mean it, because all of Advent, you've been allowing him to bring those great gifts of hope and joy and love and peace into your life. And that Christmas isn't just something that we decorate and then put away again. Christmas is a lived reality. I grew up in Holy Infant Parish in Baldwin, and I was thinking sometime in seminary, like all these other guys, like they have their feast days, like St. Justin and St. Catherine Lambouré, and like even Our Lady of Sorrows, she's got a feast day, like because we would celebrate these different prayers. I'm like, when's Holy Infant's feast day? And I was like, oh. I kind of forgot, you know? Because Christmas is one of those things that like it comes at us like this big whoosh, and then it's gone. But to be able to prepare for it and to prepare your heart as much as you are preparing gifts and good things and different parties and decorations, then it's not something that we forget about. It becomes, again, our identity. Pope Francis really wants us to be able to experience this hope in a whole new way. And so he is starting this Jubilee year. Every 25 years, there's this big Jubilee where the church says, hey, we got to celebrate the good things that are going on. We know that there's tough stuff in the world, but we have to celebrate what's good. And this year, this is the year of hope. And so he gave us this document called Hope Does Not Disappoint, which is St. Paul's letter to the Romans, chapter 5. Hope does not disappoint. He's like earnestly saying it. He wants us to remember that living in the virtue of hope, living in the trust that God will provide for us and that God is with us now, that's not a disappointment. That's a reassurance. And so throughout this whole year to come, starting with this, the first Sunday of the liturgical year, we're going to be talking about hope. And for the rest of the school year, as we decided in this summer, we're going to have a theme, which is Pilgrims of Hope. I read this book this fall by this guy named John Bunyan, not Paul Bunyan with the ox, but like this guy named John Bunyan. So it's like 1600s, 1700s, I forget. But he talks about the progress of being a pilgrim and just by being able to strike out on the road. And this guy's name is Christian. I was like, well, that's obvious, you know. But Christian is going towards the Lord. And as long as Christian stays on the road, as long as Christian stays in the Lord's commands, Christian has the better go of it. But when he gets sidetracked, when he goes off to the things that might be maybe enticing or might be illusions that are lies that he falls into, he gets the snot kicked out of him, like literally several times in the book. And you're like, oh gosh, Christian, why don't you just stay on the road? And as I was reading it, and I was just thinking of the students and all of you and thinking about my own faith journey, it's like, oh, well, this is kind of like me. When I stay on the road, when I'm with the Lord, when I do what he asks, I've got the better of it. Not to say that it's not challenging, not that there's not difficulty, but I'm able to see where I'm going. And I'm able to have a great clarity in my life as opposed to falling for the traps that we hear about in the gospel. That there's enough anxieties in life, as Jesus says in the gospel, so why would we fall into the trick of some of those other snares, which we call sin? So just think, in living in hope, we know that the Lord has already provided the path for us. We can just live with him, and we can live in that reassurance that he's with us, but we can also share in it together. I think that's the best part of any community, but especially this community, is that we get to do faith together, that we get to live in hope together. So we'll talk more about our little holy door at the end of Mass. Deacon Jim mentioned it before we began the liturgy, but I just hope that maybe we can continue to see all of the doors of hope open in our lives by our willingness to participate, by our willingness to have daily prayer, and for our willingness to not just try to do it on ourselves in self-reliance, but instead to depend with everything, with our whole heart, upon Jesus, who's coming very soon.